Hi, I'm Pav.
And I'm Neil.
And welcome to the Top 10 of Anything podcast.
Let's start the countdown.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The guns, the gadgets, the girls, all important ingredients for a Bond movie. Another essential part is the song. Many legends across different genres of music have tackled the Bond song to varying degrees of success. We are here to count down our top 10 Bond songs. Here's Neil, 000, with some facts.
Thank you very much, Pav. So here we go. 3 Bond songs have won the Academy Award for Best Original Song. Skyfall by Adele, Writings on the Wall by Sam Smith, and No Time to Die by Billie Eilish, with Writings on the Wall becoming the first Bond theme to reach number 1 in the UK singles chart. Based on the 1973 Bond film of the same name, Wings' Live and Let Die was the first Bond theme song to be nominated for an Academy Award. Despite numerous celebrities signing up for the theme songs, only one singer had a cameo in the film. In 2002's Die Another Day, pop star Madonna sang both the title track of the same name and appeared as the fencing instructor named Verity.
Oh.
The iconic Tina Turner sang the theme song for 1995's GoldenEye. The song was actually written by Bono and The Edge from U2, who wanted to become involved after learning Turner would be doing the vocals. Known as the unofficial Queen of Bond, Welsh singer Shirley Bassey is still the only singer who's sung more than one Bond theme song. During the recording of the theme song for 1965's Thunderball, singer Tom Jones was required to sing the title of the song repeatedly at a high range. Unfortunately for Jones, he held the last note of the song for so long, he ended up passing out in the recording studio. Duran Duran's theme song for the 1985 Bond flick A View to a Kill is still the only Bond song to have reached number 1 on the US charts, and it was also nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Original Song. The track Nobody Does It Better wasn't originally meant to be a Bond theme song. However, producers caught wind, loved it, and so the song was reworked to become the more 007 friendly. Adele's Skyfall, released in 2012, was not only one of the most commercially successful, selling over 7 million copies, and the first Bond song to sell over a million digital copies. And finally, with new teeth, R&B legend Gladys Knight sang the theme song for 1989's License to Kill. Despite the song and film title, Knight was not comfortable with the idea of singing the word kill, or imagery that depicted violence. Funnily enough, if you listen closely, it sounds as if she is saying license to kit, kilt, or kin, rather than actually sing kill.
Thank you, Agent 000. That's very nice of you to do that. Yes, we're here for Top 10 Bond songs, and our guest has just flown in on his Union Jack parachute. It's Scott from the SpyHards podcast. Hello, finally. How are you, Agent Scott?
Finally, yes, I'm very happy to be here. Finally. Oh, I am sad I didn't get the 000 from Carry On Spying.
Well done.
I would have liked that too. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
There can only be one. I mean, there's only one 007, isn't there? So what would you'd have to be 0000 maybe.
Yeah.
0000.
I kind of like 00, I think 6.5 from the Bollywood film For Your Height Only, where there's a short man playing Bond. So I'll go 6.5. I think I'll have that.
Wonderful,
Nice.
wonderful. Well, you are an expert, as you joined us for our top 10 Bond movies, didn't you? Along with your cohort Cam. Unfortunately, you can't make it with us tonight, so you're joining us on your own, which we're glad to have you, obviously. The one thing I wanted to ask both of you, when I was doing the research for this, I was looking also in the eras of Bond, as in each Bond, what songs were available for those particular movies. Who do you think had the best songs for their movies. So, with Roger Moore, George Lazenby obviously only had one, and the rest of them. So, Scott, with you first, who would you say had the biggest and best quality songs for the movies? Not necessarily what are the best movies.
That's a really tough question because I think the answer that came to my mind, the person who I'm going to mention, doesn't really factor all that much into my top 10. But I think it's Daniel Craig. If you look at the caliber of performer he has for his songs, I'm not necessarily they are the best of the songs, but from Adele to Chris Cornell to Jack White, Billie Eilish, Sam Smith, they are all top Grammy winning. I need those teeth too. Do you have any teeth
Yeah, it's
spare?
hard, isn't it? It's hard.
Pass them on. Grammy winning artists, and that's not the same that can be said for some of the sort of time periods. Like Pierce Brosnan, for instance, has not got as much credit there. So I'll go with Daniel Craig. It's not my pick. It's not something I would reach for, but I think he wins that argument.
Okay, Neil, what do you think?
No, only because I grew up with him as Bond. I would have probably gone Roger Moore, literally only because it's the one that is so ingrained into my mind of seeing the movies at the cinema, The Spy Who Loved Me and all of those. That to me is always resonates as the best Bond themes. But I found it weird because, when I read my facts and found out the facts that the last 3 Bond movies all won the Oscars for the songs, and I think those 3 songs are the weakest of any Bond song.
Right.
Worse, the Sam Smith one is an abomination. I really don't like that song. The Adele one is as boring as ditch water, and Billie Eilish just was Billie Eilish. It didn't sound like a Bond song.
I can't believe you didn't go for the Jack White, Alicia Keys if you're going to take a swipe at the Craig era there. That's the pits, I would say.
I completely agree. That and Sam Smith. I mean, I honestly can't even remember the Jack White, Alicia Keys song. I don't know how that one went, and I don't really want to look.
I think it's the only Bond song to feature scatting.
Really? Oh my God. And Louis Armstrong did a Bond song, and there was no scatting in that one?
He didn't feel the need, but at least Jack White felt the need for speed.
I have to say, I think that Timothy Dalton had there's only was it 2 movies? 3?
So the Gladys Knight and 2, wasn't it?
And the Living Daylights. I mean, they're both great songs. Although I have to say, no, I was going to give some away from my top 10.
You can't say too much, can you?
You don't want to give too much away. But I also agree with you a little bit, Neil, and I don't know whether it's an age thing. I don't know whether it is, because I feel that Roger Moore is my Bond, and some of the songs, not necessarily the people like Lulu sang The Man with the Golden Gun. Not a massive Lulu fan, but that's a great tune. And The Spy Who Loved Me, A View to a Kill as well. There's some great ones for that. So, but we'll find out. It's going to be interesting. I think we're going to have a lot of duplicates here, but maybe not as many as I thought we would. So, Scott, kick us off with your number 10 Bond song. I'll see if I can play them as we're doing it as well.
Well, to give you a bit of a lead in so you can maybe find the track and get yourself ready, it is interesting talking about context from when we listen to these things, because I was brought into the fold by Pierce Brosnan. So my musical tastes are probably a little bit different to yourselves, being Roger Moore sort of brought up on his films. Not
You're a young whippersnapper, you see. That's what it is.
Very, very young at the age of 36.
Yes.
That
is young when you're 54, Scott. I'll tell you that.
Okay, I'll grant you that, sir. I'll grant you that. But yeah, so I have a feeling our lists might be slightly different. This is probably where Cam would have come in handy, because he was a Roger Moore baby too. He was brought up on sort of A View to a Kill and things like that.
Right.
Would have given us some balance there. But no one cares about Cam's opinion. That's why you brought me here.
Exactly.
Coming in at number 10, and speaking of the Pierce Brosnan era, it has to be Tina Turner's Goldeneye.
All right, that's my number 7.
That's my number 4.
That's your number 4. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, for me, it's synonymous with his era. It's probably the only one of his songs I ever go back to. It's the only one I don't necessarily skip. I'm not a big Shania Twain or Madonna fan. The Garbage song is quite nice, but Goldeneye is a bit larger than life, I would say, in terms of Bond songs. It transcends the Bond's songs and becomes a good song that gets played on the radio even now.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it was a great song. It was very catchy. When I can always remember it being released, the retailer I was working at the time had a sounds and video department, and the song came out, and I kept playing it through when I was working on that desk. And I still think it's still a cracking song, isn't it? It's well written, well sung. Yeah, it's a good song.
I've never seen any documentaries about Bond songs, but I'm assuming there must be certain chords or chord changes that every Bond song has to have. Because every Bond song has those little motifs, don't they? And the little, so you know it's a Bond song straight away. You know, whether it's like in this one, it's the ba-ba. You know, everyone's got that little moment in it. And then people like Bono and The Edge will then put their own little bit in it, I suppose, with the lyrics or whatever. But it's weird.
To address what you just said there, actually, there's a fantastic documentary on Amazon Prime called The Sound of 007 that actually really goes into what happens and goes into making these songs. And there is definitely a Bond musical key. There's a Bond chord. There is a Bond set of notes that are basically in most of the tunes, not in all of them, but most of them.
See, Scott's already earned his money. He's not getting any money, but he's...
I trained in music theory, so that kind of helps me
there you
too.
go.
There you are, then.
You didn't make the documentary, did you? That's on Amazon?
No, but cheap plug. I did have the director on SpyHards a couple of years ago, so you can check that interview out whenever you'd like.
There you go. And the link to the podcast will be in the show notes, as it normally is. That's a great one to start, and we've already got one that all three of us have got, so that's a good start. This could be the shortest podcast we've ever done because everyone's got the same ones. Go on then, Neil. You're number 10.
So it's Nancy Sinatra's "You Only Live Twice." I like these sort of songs that they do. I mean, it was hard for me to choose because I'm not a great fan of a lot of the Bond songs. Some of them I find a bit dreary. Some of them I find a bit wet, and they don't really do it for me. It was always the title sequence as a young teenage boy that was more appealing than the song. So it's taken me a while to grow back. But I like a bit of this sort of swing music, this sort of 60s era where you know it's from the 60s. Pastiche many times, and Nancy Sinatra's got a wonderful voice.
Well, this is Millennium by Robbie Williams, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know.
The start of that those string sounds, that's Millennium by Robbie Williams.
So in theory, I should like that, shouldn't I?
You should love that, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
during my age, I knew it as the Millennium first before I knew this.
Yeah,
right.
That's showing my age.
I didn't realize that until I just listened to it. Then I thought, oh my god, I've pressed the wrong button. Oh no, it is You Only Live Twice. It's Millennium by Robbie Williams. Have you never heard Millennium by Robbie Williams?
Not in a long time.
Scott, can you pass those teeth over, please? For me?
We're just going to
share them all around. Jesus.
Can we have some Clearadents on it in between though, just to really just sterilize?
Yeah, we'll sterilize them.
Well, as you know, I'm not the biggest Robbie fan, so it's been a long time since I've heard that song Millennium. I couldn't even tell you how it goes. Well,
it goes just like the start of this song.
Yeah, well, obviously now hearing that, but I wouldn't have been able to tell you if you'd have said to me, sing Millennium. I'd have just been like,
wow, I didn't know. So which movie is You Only... it's a Sean Connery Bond, isn't it?
It's the fifth Sean Connery Bond, the sixth Bond film if you count Casino Royale 67.
Right, and what's the hook of that one? What famous scenes or stuff? I'm trying to just place it.
Bond goes to Japan. That's the best way to think of it.
It's the racist one. It's the racist one, is it?
It's where he gets disguised as a Japanese person.
Right, okay.
But it's the first time you see Blofeld properly, played by Donald Pleasance. He has the cat, all that sort of stuff. There's the volcano layer, like a lot of the sort of Bond motifs come out in this film.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna.
And it's on Amazon as well.
It is. They're all there.
Yeah.
And I will add a little bit of context for it. Originally, it was offered to Frank Sinatra. He said no. He thinks it would be better for his daughter. Hands it off to Nancy. That's how we get that. And at one point, Aretha Franklin was in contention to do this.
Oh wow! Yeah, right.
Wow.
Different song.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great one. Okay, you're all on your own with that one, though, Neil. You're all on your own with that one. Yeah, that's.
I'm happy with that. I'll take that away with me.
Absolutely. Okay, mine. This one, mid-80s. One of the biggest bands of the 80s. This is Duran Duran and A View to a Kill. Now, was this? No, this wasn't Roger Moore's last Bond, was it?
Yeah, it was.
It was
his last one.
Yeah, and you could kind of tell, couldn't you? Because you could tell that the stuntman was being used a hell of a lot more in that movie than any of the other ones.
And some very ropey, I was going to say CGI.
Bless
Excuse me.
you.
Yeah, some very ropey back screen work in that one when they're at the Eiffel Tower and
Yeah.
things. It looks awful.
And that's Christopher Walken as well in this one, isn't it?
Yeah,
He was the
Tanya
baddie.
Roberts.
That's right. That's right. I haven't seen this movie for a long, long time. Does it hold up, Scott?
That's a toughie because it's not one of my favorites. I'd say no, it doesn't. And check out the age difference in Roger Moore and Tanya Roberts when they are in that shower, because that's a big age gap there. It's a bit of a weird one. It's one of the reasons why Roger Moore wanted to step away is because of the age difference to him and his sort of leading ladies, and they brought him back with a ton of money for this one. But yeah, I think he goes out in style in many ways. It's very much winking at the camera as Roger does best.
Yeah. Yeah, because doesn't he has a bedroom scene with Grace Jones as well, doesn't he, in that one, I think?
Certainly does.
Oh, Roger by name and Roger by nature.
I wonder if his riders will ever come out.
Yeah, I wonder. Okay, then. Scott, your number 9 then, please.
Well, we're sticking to the 1980s, but we're moving a few years forward to 1989 with Gladys Knight and License to Kill.
That's my number 5. Yeah.
Yes.
Great tune.
Well, my fact was going to be the thing you mentioned about Gladys Knight not wanting to say the word kill. But I just think this one's a bit of a belter. I know people will say it basically uses a lot of the motifs from Goldfinger, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Absolutely. I'd never heard that thing about her don't do a Bond movie, a Bond song, if you're not going to say the word kill, especially if the movie is called License to Kill. What I don't understand what she was expecting.
I'm not too sure on sort of the background there. I wonder if it might have been sort of religious or something like that. She didn't want to say those words. Completely understandable, but it's an absolute belter. And I've heard this one played live a couple of times, and it's fantastic.
Really?
I've got to say, A View to Kill is my number 8.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, this is one of those ones that it's got a cracking chorus and it builds up to it. But I can see what you mean. It hadn't occurred to me before how it goes into the Goldfinger. It sounds like that. It has that same kind of structure a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, like musically, there's a lot of similarities. They said it was a loving nod even at the time, so it's not like they were saying, "Oh, this is completely new music." They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, but again, it's what a Bond song needs to be. It needs to be big, bold, brash, and again, she's got an amazing voice,
hasn't she? Just
so you can't fault her on that. That's a great one. I could listen to that one. I'm gonna have to listen to these afterwards as well. Okay. That was your number 9, Scott. So Neil, your number 9.
So I'm going to go back to the beginning of the 80s with Roger Moore and go for Your Eyes Only with Sheena Easton. Okay. Now I picked this because I can remember buying this as a 7-inch single, and I had the poster as well for some reason. I think I got it at Siren Sister Cinema, where they gave out these 3 where you unfolded the posters, and I had the classic with Bond with his legs open, pointing his gun like that from For Your Eyes Only. So I had to put this in. And I still, when I re-listened to it, because I thought I want to put that in because obviously it was the first Bond song I ever bought. But I still think it's a lovely song, lovely ballad to this one. And I do love Sheena Easton's voice. And this was before she was corrupted by Prince.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. This one you can't. I mean, I don't even know if this is what it is, but the start of the movie. Now, would it have had women in like water or dancing?
Yeah.
Is that what the start of it was?
Yeah.
Yeah. This should have been in my top 10 because it's a great tune.
It's a great karaoke track, I would think, with this one. It's a nice one, just everyone sort of gets a lighter out at the end of the karaoke and just starts waving it from side to side. It's got that sort of late 70s, early 80s Bond ballad thing they had going on for a while. Where
yes,
absolutely.
It's not necessarily got the punch of some of the other ones I'm sure we're going to mention, but it has like a lovely kind of warmth to it that I do go back to. It's not one I picked, but it probably would have been like 12 or 11 if I'd kept going.
I think it would have been exactly the same for me. It's one of those ones that are just bubbling under the top 10. But she was, she was a phenomenon, wasn't she, in the 80s?
Yeah.
And then it was just weird how she went from this, like the 9 to 5 song, not the Dolly Parton
sort of
one.
like a home girl.
A girl next door kind of thing. So all of a sudden this vamp
glamour,
that was part of the Prince entourage. It was crazy. But fair play to her.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your number 9. I'm actually going for Goldfinger as my number 9. The Shirley
That's my number
Bassey.
7.
Is that your
That's my number 8.
Okay, we are going to be racing through this one.
We all have good taste in music. Spoilers,
We
everyone.
have,
it
and I
is.
mean, to be fair, there are what? How many Bond movies have there been?
25 or 27, depending on your interpretation.
So we've got a small amount, pool to sort of choose from, but I think considering there's only the quality of the songs of every single song, I'm going to say apart from something like Writings on the Wall and whatever, what was it? The Quantum of Solace? Was it called the Quantum of Solace? The
No,
Jack White song?
Another Way to Die.
that's it.
Is that what it was called? Another Way
Yeah.
to Die. I think those two were the two that you would say I would definitely just not put on a playlist, but all the other ones.
Would you? Even the Billie Eilish one that's just as dreary as dog bollocks.
I'll come to the Billie Eilish one a little bit later
All
on.
right.
I quite like that one.
I love
would
that song.
defend
I think
it.
her vocal. See, the thing is, I heard her song that she did for Barbie, and for me, that didn't work because this very delicate vocal and the way that she does her songs with her brother and that. But for a Bond song, it was going back to that 70s, 80s ballad style.
And I would say like it wasn't a song that necessarily worked for me when I first heard it released before the film came out, but when I saw it with the credits sort of rolled into the film, very different experience. It just worked, especially with sort of the melancholy of that film.
Yeah,
I think it was a nice touch. That's just me.
And I will come to it a little bit later on, but let me just take that Neil hasn't got Billie Eilish in the last 1, 2, 3, last 5 slots that you got available.
I mean, I admire what Billie Eilish does. I just wish she'd change it up a bit. It's the same song reconditioned all the bloody time to me. The way she sings, the way it's done. I just can't hear anything else but the song that she did before. And I'm just thinking, come on.
I agree. I agree with that in the fact that the Bond song she did and the Barbie song were like interchangeable. They sounded very similar.
And I just want Billie Eilish to impress me and do something different.
Oh dear! I bet
No,
she's.
I'm not asking much.
She'll be taking that note down right now, Neil.
She will be.
good.
She'll be listening to this.
Neil.
Yeah,
right.
she'll be going, shit, Neil's just not impressing me at all.
Her brother Phineas should be listening because he writes them all, not her.
Phineas, isn't it?
Phineas, I don't know.
Phineas?
Phineas? Fish fingers. Findus, fish fingers.
Let's move on, shall we? Let's move on. Okay, so that was my... was that my number 9?
Well, we didn't really talk about Shirley, but you said Goldfinger, didn't you?
Yes, sorry, yeah.
So we didn't really talk about Shirley Bassey, and I must say, I love this lady's voice. There you are, Billie Eilish. Listen to Shirley Bassey. That's how you sing and not just whisper every fucking thing. Excuse me.
Well, I mean, they're different singers. I'll jump to Billie Eilish's defense a second there. I think they're different vocal ranges and things like that. They will sound different. But bringing it back to Dame Shirley Bassey, I had the pleasure of seeing her at the Royal Albert Hall last year for the Sound of 007 concert, and she sung this and Diamonds Are Forever. Strangely, she skipped Moonraker.
There you go.
Your mileage will vary with that song, but it was astounding to see her sing it live, and she hasn't missed a beat.
Really?
Yeah, that
and how old is she? She's got to be 70s?
70s, 80s, I would say now.
She did the Legends, didn't she, at Glastonbury only recently, a couple of years ago or whatever, and she blew
she's
that
still
away.
touring and stuff, doing bits and bobs. She's still going, so good for her. She sounded great.
Powerhouse of a voice.
Absolutely. And this is the thing we've said before. You got people like Paul McCartney, whose voice is pretty shot now. Someone like John Bon Jovi, whose voice is pretty shot. But you got someone like Tom Jones. Sure, maybe it's the Welsh gene. I don't know. Maybe they build vocal cords differently in Wales. Maybe I don't know.
And just a little bit of context, just for Goldfinger, this is the song that started it all. There is, of course, From Russia with Love from Matt Monro, and Dr. No had kind of a little track with it too. But Goldfinger is the one that, and Goldfinger itself is often heralded as like the blueprint of the Bond films. That also goes to the song. I mentioned, License to Kill apes on Goldfinger. A lot of them ape on Goldfinger because this is what sort of set the standard of a Bond song. So I'm glad Shirley Bassey is on the top 10.
Yeah. It's that like screeching trumpet. I don't know. What's the technical term for that kind of trumpet? That Is there a technical
Let
term,
me have
Scott?
let me have a quick look. I think it's screeching trumpet.
I thought it was.
That's the musical notation for it. They just write down
Yeah, yeah.
screeching and
Screeching. Yeah, there you go. And they go, yeah,
Oh,
Goldfinger. Yeah. Okay, so Scott, your number 8 was Goldfinger.
It was.
Neil, your number 8 was View to a Kill. So my number 8 is We Have All the Time in the World by Louis Armstrong.
Well, that's my number 3.
That's your number 3.
Is my number 3 as well.
Oh, okay. I only saw On Her Majesty's Secret Service for the first time about 3 or 4 years ago, because it was that whole George Lazenby thing. It's George Lazenby. He had one go at Bond, and I thought it was such a great movie. I thought it was like, and it shocked me, like A, how riveting it was, B, how heartbreaking it was, and just what a great movie it was. I was so surprised.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And to have this as the theme as well. I mean, I can't remember when we did our top 10 Bond movies what number it was in my top 10, but I'm sure it was pretty high. I couldn't say any more about it, really. I mean, it's a great song from a great movie and a great Bond movie.
They knew that they had to pull out the big guns with On Her Majesty's Secret Service because they knew they had a new actor in George Lazenby who had no work under his belt at all. He was a completely fresh actor, so they needed people like Dame Diana Rigg to come in and really give a powerhouse performance. And John Barry comes in and gives one of his, arguably still his best scores, along with this song. And there's a reason why its most recent film, that for many is the end of Bond, went back to this song. It chose of all of the 27 films to go back to On Her Majesty's Secret Service and reference this song. There's a reason for it.
Yeah.
And you've also got the joy of listening to Louis Armstrong. I praised him lyrical before in another podcast, which you can hear if you go back. I love this guy's voice. I've been a fan since my youth, like I said before, and I can just listen to his voice. He soothes you away, doesn't he? But yeah, and it's just a great track, isn't it? Just a great track.
Yeah, I need to watch it
work
again.
You're hearing is just one of my favorite bits there.
Yeah, that's not quite a screeching trumpet, is it, that one?
No.
I don't quite know what the technical term for that one is.
Delightful trumpet.
I
Yeah,
think
there you are.
You're right. There you go. Yeah.
That's the one. I can have a
Delightful
quick look in my book if you want.
No,
Yeah,
Scott's
delightful
an
trumpet,
expert on music, Neil.
I've got
Okay.
2 Bond books downstairs. I could actually pull it out and tell you more if you'd like, but
Well, maybe.
That's a great one. Okay, so Scott, your number 7 then, please.
the living daylights.
Okay, that's my number 6.
Not on my list.
Oh,
Clamping down. I like Aha. I like their other song, but there's something instantly singable about this. I love the late 80s tunes because I had License to Kill on earlier as well. It just feels like my era of music, late 80s, early 90s is really what I quite dig. And something about it, just a catchy tune. It is funny that it is the last one that John Barry did as a score, and working with Aha frustrated him to the point that he chose to leave Bond because he didn't like working with them so much.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the story behind it. They just didn't get on. There was a lot of toing and froing, and he was also kind of just done with the whole thing. But yeah, Aha was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Wow.
I didn't realize that they were quite hard. They were hard to work for or work with.
Well, because they're I can't remember what country they're from. Does anyone know?
Norway.
What country they're from?
Norway.
Yeah, they're Norwegian.
It must be a translation thing because it's Aha. It's actually hard to work with.
Ah,
there
very
was a joke
good.
there I was building to, and it didn't land, which is worse because it was
No,
a
that was
translation joke,
very
and now I'm
good.
spelling it out.
The trouble is you sound like you know everything, so we're taking it as facts, not as jokes.
No.
You see, so that was
I'll remember that.
that
I'll
was
remember for the rest
really
of the episode.
no, but that was really good. That was really good. If I was able to quickly get to my applause, I would give you applause for that.
Oh.
But maybe, Scott, give us a little bit of that. Then we'll know.
I'll
change
just
your
wink.
voice. Yeah, really?
Say no more. Say no more.
Yeah.
Say no more. But it is. I mean, it is a great tune. I feel it's a very what you class like. What would that have been? 88, maybe 89,
It's 87.
87.
Oh, there we go.
So you're going into the mid to late 80s. Yeah, I've always liked Aha. I'm not going to try and make it. See, now is it Aha or Aha, or does it depend on how posh you are?
Aha.
Aha. Is it Aha?
Yeah, it's that one.
I think it's
Perfect.
Aha.
Yeah, I think it's Aha.
Yeah, I think we're going to start getting into Alan Partridge then, and we're
Yeah.
not going to go down that route.
Go on.
No. Okay, so that was your number 7. My number 7 was GoldenEye. So back to you, Scott, then, for your number 6.
Number 6. We're going back a bit now to the early 70s with Paul McCartney and Live and Let Die.
Ooh.
It,
Okay.
I think it's one of the first ones that John Barry hadn't touched. It might be the first. Don't quote me on that, folks, and don't at me if I'm wrong. But you had the Beatles composer come in and do the soundtrack for the film. I forget
George Martin.
George Martin, thank you. I was thinking of Giles, that's his son. George Martin come in, did the soundtrack, and he called Paul and said, "Do you want to do a Bond song?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." The best story I have for this is they submitted this song to the producers, Harry Saltzman and Cubby Broccoli. And Harry Saltzman, at the end of the sort of meeting, turned around and said, "Well, this is a great temp track. When are we going to add the rest of it?" And then Paul McCartney was like, No, this is the song.
Oh, dear.
And they're like, "Oh, okay." And then they just played it. And that was what it was.
Wow.
You don't question Paul McCartney just post Beatles, like a couple of years post Beatles.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'll say some more about this a little bit later on. I feel like Neil might do as well.
Who knows?
Who knows? Now, what I need to know. So, what year was this? Live and Let Die.
73,
Was it
70?
Yeah, 72, 73.
So 72. So this is it's obviously Paul McCartney and Wings. Now, is this pre or post doing the Crossroads theme? Because Wings did. Remember, no, Scott, you probably don't even know. Do you know what Crossroads is? The old sitcom soap opera from ITV. It was early 70s, I think.
It's not ringing, but I keep thinking I'm confusing it with Heartbeat in my head.
Yeah. No, this was like, if you remember Acorn Antiques on Victoria Wood, which you might even be too young for that. It was basically a studio-based soap opera with wobbly sets and terrible acting. But Wings did a version of their theme tune, but like rocked it all up, and it was amazing. I'll put it on the video playlist for the Patreon subscribers. And I think that would have been mid 70s. That would have been around.
Been after this then.
Mull of Kintyre, I would have thought. But yeah, they've done a Bond song and they've done a soap opera theme. I mean, he's
greedy bastards.
Well, he's a Beatle, isn't he? He can do what he wants. He could do what he wants. If he wanted to fart the theme tune, he would probably be allowed to do it, wouldn't he?
If you want a lesser Paul McCartney spy movie title track, go listen to his song "Spies Like Us."
Spies Like Us.
Spies Like Us. It's not a good song.
Oh yeah, that is a great
I
tune.
bought that.
I bought that.
Okay,
And the
I have
film
two Spies
wasn't
Like
very-
Us fans here. I'll take it back. It's a great song. Great song.
No,
No,
you're
you're
all
good.
right because the film wasn't great.
It's not. It's that's the one with Doctor, isn't it? That's
I think
right.
it is. Yeah.
Chevy Chase and
Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
It? Yeah, it wasn't great. I remember seeing that at the cinema and just thinking afterwards that wasn't great. It wasn't that funny. Yeah, I remember that movie.
Ooh, what do you do? No one
Oh,
else can
dear.
dance like you. Everybody, come on. No? Okay. All right, we'll leave that one, shall we? I haven't thought about Spies Like Us for years. I'm going to have to listen to that
Yeah.
now. Neil, you're number 6.
Is Nobody Does It Better, Carly Simon from
That's
Spy Who
my
Loved Me.
number 3.
my number
Yeah.
2.
There you
Yes, great song. Carly Simon, what a voice, what a singer. But yeah, and it was in my facts, wasn't it, about it being one of the only ones, or is it the only one that wasn't named after the actual film or something?
go. Well, we have all the time in the world. That was another one.
No, there's
Oh,
a few of
yeah.
those. Another Way to Die is.
Oh, that's right. But yes,
$100.
no, it wasn't originally meant to be a Bond song. That's what I meant to say. From the facts, they poached it off of that and changed it somewhat. But it's a great song, isn't it? It really is a good song.
I
When
mean,
you
this
listen back to
song is best played with Alan Partridge explaining it.
Yes.
to you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Stop it, you're getting Bond wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. Stop getting Bond wrong.
It's I mean, it's no wonder it's my second. It's one I will go back to. I think I've sung karaoke of the song before. Not well, but I've tried. I don't really have any factoids for it, but I think it's become synonymous with Bond.
Yeah.
this track. Like it's never really been one that's broken further. Like Skyfall, for instance, is a track that has gone past the film and it's now just one that gets radio play. And Adele obviously is Adele, whereas I think Carly Simon and Bond have sort of become quite synonymous with each other, especially with this song. And it's interesting that her legacy's tied to this a little bit more than, say, Adele is with Skyfall.
Yeah.
I
was going to say, so... Oh, no, I've got it coming. It's okay. No, I was gonna go into something then, but I thought, no, it's in my top 10, so I won't talk about it now. Okay, before we do anything else, let me get it right. It's this.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
Now, I don't think we did this when you were with us the first time, Scott, for the Bond movies. We're going to have a little bit of a quiz. Okay?
Oh, no.
Yes, we're going to have a little bit of a
I
quiz.
feel I may lose this one.
Well, who knows? Who knows?
Well,
so we're doing
why
Bond
break
songs.
a tradition?
We're doing Bond songs. So I'm going to give you some lyrics to a Bond song. You need to tell me which Bond song it's from.
Are we buzzing in, or is it?
Well, no, it's first one to three. You get to go. Well, you get to choose, Scott, whether you want to go first or second. If you get it wrong, it goes over to your opponent. So it's the first one to three. So you can go first or second, Scott. What would you like to do?
Well, I think the host should always go first. So Neil, it's down to you.
It's down to you. So here we go then, Neil. Are you ready? What does it matter to you? To you? I don't know why I said it like that. What does it matter?
Is that the one Michael Caine sang? Was it?
What does it matter to you when you got a job to do? You got to do it well. You got to give the other fella hell.
Live and Let Die.
It is. Well done. I'm going to try and throw you off if they're too easy. I'm going to try,
all in the style of Michael Caine, please.
All in the that wasn't supposed to be Michael Caine, Neil. I don't know what it was supposed to be. Okay, Scott, here's yours. People like us know how to survive. There's no point in living if you can't feel alive.
The world is not enough.
Well done, Scott. It was The World Is Not Enough.
I got a bit of a sweat on there. I was like, oh no. Where's my credibility going?
Well, you're on this podcast, so it's gone right down the pan. Are you ready, Neil?
Ready.
Here we go. Number 3. All right. Hold on tight now. It's down to the wire. Set your hopes up way too high. The living's in the way we die.
You know my name? No.
It is not. Scott has his hand up.
The Living Daylights.
It is The Living Daylights. Well done.
It wasn't in my top 10, so I didn't know.
Well done. So, Scott, for the win. Bear with me on this one, because this is quite a long one. All I wanted was a sweet distraction for an hour or two. Had no intention to do the things we've done. Funny how it always goes with love. When you don't look, you find. But then we're two of a kind. We move as one.
It's actually the first line that I had it, and then you said other words, and then I've lost it completely.
Say the first line again.
All I wanted was a sweet distraction for an hour or two. I can see what you mean, because that's the hooky line. That is, yeah.
It's actually like, it's really annoying me because I know the film and I've forgotten the song title because I don't think it's named after the film. I think I might have to pass it back because if I say it, you're going to trigger the answer.
You're right. I'm
playing the game here.
You are.
Right.
Are you passing it?
I'm passing.
Pop quiz,
wrong
shot.
Wrong button.
Oh no,
Neil.
I honestly don't know, so I'll guess. I really don't know. The Tom Jones one.
The Tom Jones one.
Can I see if I was right with the film at least?
Yeah.
Go on then.
Octopussy.
It was Octopussy. Yes, an all-time high.
Oh yeah.
We're an all-time high. Yeah. Okay.
People are
So,
shouting at me. Thank you, everyone.
Is that Scott? No, it's Neil's go. Neil's go for this one. Are you ready?
Yes.
It's tense.
A spider's touch, such a cold. Finger beckons you to enter his web of sin, but don't go in.
I'm shit at lyrics. Is that Goldeneye? No, I don't know.
No.
Over to you, Scott.
Over to you, Scott, for the win.
Run away with it.
Goldfinger.
It is Goldfinger. I have to. I did run a couple of the lines together there for Neil just to
throw
send
me
you
off. But no,
Yeah.
well done. Well done, Scott.
I have got a couple more, so we'll just run through these. Just shout them out if you know them.
Good game.
Every step of the way will find us with the cares of the world far behind us.
Was it the one that Black Lace did?
No, it wasn't. No, Black Lace haven't done a Bond
You
song.
only live twice.
No, we have all the time in the world.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
You'll never know how I watched you from the shadows as a child. You'll never know how it feels to be the one who's left behind.
Skyfall.
No.
GoldenEye.
GoldenEye.
Oh, there you go. The one that I see.
I've seen angels fall from blinding heights, but you yourself are nothing so divine, just next in line.
You know my name.
Well done. That was very Michael Caine as well. There, well done.
You know
any
my
woman
name.
he wants, he will break any heart without regret.
Oh, silence.
Can I hear it one more time, please? I feel like the pressure's on me to get these ones right.
Yeah, do Scott, because
You are the expert. Any
have
woman he
no
wants,
freaking
he'll
clue.
get. He will break any heart without regret.
For your eyes only.
No.
I think I've gone to mush. Living Daylights.
Thunderball.
Of course. Yeah.
And then the final one, Sigmund Freud, analyze this, analyze
Madonna,
this,
Die Another
analyze
Day.
Yeah, you go. Madonna, Die Another Day. Well done, Scott. 3-1.
Yes, well done, Scott.
You definitely put Neil in his place there, so well done.
Well done.
Okay, so Scott, we need your number 5 now, please.
Well, we mentioned her earlier, but this is her other song I quite like, and it's Diamonds Are Forever by Dame Shirley Bassey.
Okay.
Bit of Dame Shirley.
There it is. Diamonds Are Forever.
I have a fondness for Las Vegas that's gone back many years. Even it's where I met my co-host Cam many moons ago, and it's just a film that puts me in the mood to go to Vegas, even though Vegas is nothing like that anymore. And I don't much like the film, but I still like watching it for some reason. And this song is just a wonderful teaser for a film full of madness.
Okay. I don't think I've ever seen Diamonds Are Forever.
Really?
No. Would you recommend it as a good Bond movie, or is it of its time?
It's, for my money, it's Connery's weakest.
Oh, right. Okay.
But it's a great capsule of 1970s Las Vegas. It's it's definitely a time portal back to a previous form of America. And it's Connery in his most relaxed performance, let's say that.
Right.
Okay. What is that? Is that close to phoning it in? Do you mean, or
I'm being
Almost
polite.
Scottish.
Well, no, the accent's still there, but it's got some great guest performances. Jill St. John is great. Lana Wood as Plenty O'Toole, named after her father, perhaps, is fantastic. There's a lot of that in there, but Connery's not the one to turn up for it. It's the cast. Plus, you get Blofeld played by actor whose name I'm
Charles
performing.
Gray, isn't it?
Charles Gray, the criminologist in Rocky Horror Picture Show.
right? Okay. I've never been to Vegas. Would you recommend it for someone that I can't trust myself on, like Western Supermare Pier on the fruit machines? Would you recommend somebody like that go into Vegas?
If you cannot make it through the 2p coin drop thing without losing a few £100, maybe don't go to Las Vegas, or
Right.
go with a set budget, and then that's it, because
Right.
it will milk you for all you're worth.
Will it? But is it fun though? I can imagine that going to
It's the
Vegas.
best.
Is it?
It's my home from home, and I'm not a big fan of sort of Americana or anything like that. But something about Las Vegas is, it's like this chasm is void of anything you want, anything you can desire, any time of the day is available, and I just like that concept. Even though I don't really particularly use it, I don't really drink, and I don't really gamble. So why do I go to Las Vegas? I don't know, but something about it just feels right.
Really? Yeah, I just don't think I could trust myself. I
Another
really
business
wouldn't.
trip, Pav.
No, I feel I'd either come back a millionaire or dead. I just really feel it'd be one of the two
Hey.
extremes.
Well, we can make a movie out of
Well,
that.
I'm sure we could. You could. I wouldn't be surviving. I
It'd be
know.
posthumous, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
so,
absolutely
yeah.
it
Yeah.
would. Okay, then Neil, you're number 5.
So it is The World Is Not Enough by Garbage. I was a fan of Garbage in the 90s. I love Shirley Manson's voice. I speak about voices a lot, but she does it. It was nice to see at that time, like more of an indie sort of band coming through and doing something a little bit different to what you were used to. And listening back, I thought, well, yeah, I still really like this song. Yeah, so it's got the element of indie underneath with the element of the classic Bond tropes, as we've talked about already. So yeah, it's a good song, and I think it's not as appreciated as it should be.
The story behind the lyric in the title, the world is not enough, but it's such a perfect place to start, is a fascinating one. Don Black, the lyricist on the song and plenty of Bond songs, I believe that's the chap's name. Like, just I think his wife came up with it because he couldn't figure it out, and she just sort of threw it in, and that's like the hook of the whole song. But Shirley loves the Bond films. She was shocked that she was asked to even do it, and this is David Arnold coming in. I think it's his second score after Tomorrow Never Dies, but I think it's the first one where he really takes the reins, and it's a wonderful score. And I think the song's great. It probably would have been in my top 15 had we had a couple more.
Yeah. And a little fact about The World Is Not Enough. I was actually working for Motorola at the time, and they used the factory of Motorola where I was working as the Turkish oil refinery. So when I used to go to work every day, the front of it, they turned into the Turkish oil place with all the Turkish army, police, helicopters and everything. We had to obviously go around the back and go to work via the back. But the nice thing is that they gave everybody, for the inconvenience, free tickets to go and see the movie on the opening week, wherever you wanted to go and see it. And they did a Q&A with some of the cast. Pierce Brosnan wasn't in there, but Robert Carlyle was definitely in there. Sophie Marceau was definitely in there. But I mean, I was so far back, I couldn't hardly hear or see. But yeah, it was nice that they did that for us all anyway.
They did the Q&A in the factory, or?
Yeah, well, because in the factory they had a huge, almost like a theatre, this huge room that was like a dome. And they used to do a lot of seminars and stuff and that, and they did the Q&A in there for the staff. So you could ask what you want.
Wow.
Nice touch.
Very good. Very good. Is that factory still there? I don't think it is
Well,
it?
it is, but it's not Motorola anymore.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's still there. But then when we all went to watch the film sort of the following week, we were all looking out for where we work, and it was a blink and you miss it, and there it went.
Yeah, I was trying to rack my brain at a big dome, trying to think where that comes in.
Oh, no, that was inside. The factory itself has got a long tube on the top. I mean, it was the Turkish oil refinery, and they seemed to be filming for yonks, and then it was blink and you miss it when it came up on the movie.
It's always the way with these things. I remember like all the rigmarole of when they filmed on the Thames for this one, and they used the Millennium Dome, one of the first people to shoot on it and around it. And I remember a lot of like news reports of Pierce Brosnan very cold driving around in like January on the Thames, taking dunks. And if you're a big fan of The World Is Not Enough, cheap plug, Denise Richards has been on our show. Just saying.
There you go.
That's my second cheap plug. I have one more.
Good, yeah.
Christmas Jones, wasn't it? That was her name in that one.
That's it, Doctor. Put some respect on it.
Doctor, yes,
Jones.
come on.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, my number 5 was License to Kill by Gladys Knight. So we're back to you, Scott, for your number 4.
Number 4, someone I've mentioned already, but it's Adele with Skyfall.
That's my number 2.
We're getting up there
That's
now.
my number 2, yes.
We did a deep dive on Skyfall a while back, and it struck me when I was doing the research that it was a really powerful moment for the UK in 2012. Like, we had the Olympics. This was like the 50th anniversary of James Bond, and then obviously we had the Olympic opening ceremony. We had Bond jumping out the helicopter with the Queen, supposedly, along with the corgis, and that was a perfect moment in time, and it felt like there was a bit of pride going on in the UK for what felt like the first time in my life, certainly. And I think it all tied in with this. This film is still the biggest box office earner of Bond in its history, unless you adjust for inflation. And this song is one of the best selling of the songs in terms of retrospective sales. Skyfall is still one that gets radio play now, and I adore it.
Completely agree. Yeah, I'm a big Adele fan. And I think her voice is perfectly fits a Bond theme. And these, again, like Neil said with the other ones, it has the tropes that every Bond song should have, builds beautifully, and has a great chorus, and like I say, Adele's voice just is perfect for this song. I take it this is your number one then, Neil, is it? If you haven't got it,
Absolutely.
You're not an Adele fan, are you, Neil?
Look, I appreciate her. Don't get me wrong. I think she's got a cracking voice, but she does nothing for me personally. I find her very boring. Her songs, I'm afraid, I find very boring. There's a few artists that do that to me, and I've said them many times, different ones. But I appreciate what Adele can do, and I appreciate her voice.
That's fair enough. But yeah, no, that's a great one. So you're number 4. That's my number 2. Neil, GoldenEye is your number 4.
Certainly is.
So my number 4 is Billie Eilish and No Time to Die, which I'm sure is on here somewhere. Oh no, because that was a newish one, wasn't it? Oh yeah, I'll have to find it. But see, I don't know a lot of Billie Eilish stuff, and the stuff that I've seen, the sort of more dancey stuff, if you want to call it, is that again, Scott, is that the right technical term for certain kinds of music? Dancey stuff.
Hang on, I'll just get me book. Yep.
Is that right?
Yep, that's it. Dancey stuff.
Dancey stuff. I can take it or leave it, that kind of stuff. But I love her kind of more the slower, more fragile stuff.
Melodic.
Yeah, Ocean Eyes, I think, was one of her like first songs. Beautiful stuff, and I think her voice really works with that well. And this one is just haunting. And like you said, Scott, the way it goes with the movie, with what happens in the movie. We never spoke. I don't think we spoke to you in regards to No Time to Die. What were your thoughts? Spoilers for anybody that hasn't seen it. What were your thoughts about No Time to Die and the demise of Bond?
Well, I'm not one of these people that gets particularly hung up on the fact that Bond got blown up at the end, because that's just Daniel Craig's Bond.
Yeah.
It doesn't invalidate what the other actors did in the past, nor will it invalidate what Bond will do in the future, as I'm sure he will. And he will return, as it says at the end of the film. Is it a nice swan song to Daniel Craig's tenure as Bond? I think so. Is it a great film? Maybe not. There's a lot of flaws in there. I think Rami Malek was not the right guy to play the villain. I think I'm not sure about Bond having a kid, but as an actor, did he get to explore the full range of Bond from one side to the other? Yes, and I think he was successful in doing so. So I think No Time to Die is a nice way of closing out Daniel Craig's era of Bond, and it's quite in tune with what he did before. Is it what some other people wanted? No. But is it more enjoyable than Spectre? Yes.
Oh, for sure. Spectre was boring.
Yeah,
it's just the worst thing a Bond film can be, which is boring. Exactly.
Yeah. Did you not find though with Daniel Craig, they went out in such a high with Casino Royale? The action moments following and subsequently just didn't seem great. They seemed too spread out in the movies. I mean, because Quantum of Solace had its action moments, but was just not a great movie. Skyfall had great moments, but they were very spread out. But they also became a long movie. Do you know what I mean? Whereas when you watch like even Pierce Brosnan Bonds, the action, you're there to Bond for me to see the action set pieces and the big moments and everything like that. And they were missing quite a lot in the Daniel Craig era.
Well, I think if we're going to just jump into this for a second, just sort of looking at Daniel Craig era, I think it's a lot of it to do with the directors. You get Martin Campbell to do your film. He's an action director. You look at the rest of his filmography. He loves a set piece, and their task was to give you the action James Bond, and that's what they did with Casino Royale. But if you look at the team afterwards, Mark Forster is an indie director at best.
Yeah.
And he had a script that was in pieces on his hands and the writer's strike, so he couldn't do anything else with it. Then you get Sam Mendes, who is a very emotional, drama-driven director, and you get 2 dramatic films in a row. And then Cary Fukunaga is a horror director, originally, and you get some really good horror sequences. That start bit with Safin's mask chasing down the young, not Matilda, whoever the character's name is, it escapes me. But yeah, like they didn't have an action director again. They didn't have a John Glenn in the seat for the rest of Daniel Craig's tenure, and maybe that would have been nice because Daniel Craig was the action hero James Bond. He's the only one who ran through a wall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So where do you see the future of Bond? How do you see it going now? Do you think it's going to be another reboot and start from the start, and we see him, or do you see him as a seasoned spy?
It's a loaded question because I think the people in charge don't know what to do with it right now either. So I don't think anyone could really give it what should happen. I can give you what I'd like to happen.
Yeah. What would you like to happen then?
I think it's due to go back. I think we stop having it as this Bond is of the now. I think you make it a period piece and you go back to where Fleming was set, 50s and or to some extent the 60s, and you make Bond make sense because the last sort of 10, 20 years have had to sort of go through all these hoops to make Bond be vital in the story. And so got all this cyber terrorism and things like that. But why is James Bond still, something you need?
Yeah.
And the films have to keep tackling this question. Get rid of that. Go back to the point before we had the internet. Go back to the point where we had megalomaniacal villains with nuclear weapons, and Bond can go there and meet some ladies and do some bits and bobs and defuse a bomb at the end of the day, and everyone's a winner. Go back to Fleming, and that should always be your port of call.
Yeah.
And also, I would add to that is stop putting a through story through it. Just have each movie as a separate story. They don't need to have this interlinking story. I don't think at all. Never used to have it really, and it's nice just standalone films.
Do you think though, with the way that everything it has to be PC now, that we would never be able to go back to Fleming's Bond?
I think you couldn't adapt them straight from the novel, but then the Bond films originally weren't adapted from the novel. You take one that's as far back as From Russia with Love. That's not a complete adaptation. Karen Bay's character I'm getting very granular here, I of course understand, but like Karen Bay's character in From Russia with Love is not a nice person. But in the film From Russia with Love, he's a charming guy that you instantly get on with. They've stripped out some of the more hateful parts of his character to make it more PC for 1963.
Right.
So they've already been doing that. They've already been adapting them. So will it be that sort of skirt chasing stuff that we saw in the 60s? No, but if you examine those films, they had their problematic elements even then. So it can be updated. I would say to people, if you're unsure if Bond can be relevant now in that sense, go and watch the OSS films, the French comedy OSS films. I know they're French, but they are subtitles, and they're wonderful, all Bond pastiches in the last sort of 20 years, where there's basically he's doing exactly what Bond did in the 60s, but without all of the sort of inflammatory stuff, and he's still chasing skirts and drinking martinis.
Oh, really?
Great films too, all three of them, worth checking out.
Okay. And what are they called once more?
The OSS, and then they have different titles. So it's OSS, I forget them all, but they're definitely worth checking out. We can probably put a link to them on social media for people to find. But there's three of them. They're probably going to do a fourth. They're basically like Austin Powers winking at the camera, but they're taken deadly serious.
Right. That'll be fun to watch.
They're basically a modern age. They're basically what Bond would look like now if they went back and did like a 60s film now.
Yeah.
And it just shows that it's viable. And the other one I'd point out is The Man from U.N.C.L.E., the Guy Ritchie 2015 film.
Yeah.
Again, it's skirt chasing. It's back in the 60s, the swinging 60s, but it is a Bond guy-esque, Henry Cavill going around and saving the world.
It'd be very interesting if they did decide to start it from the 60s. I think that would be really interesting to do that.
And fun.
Something That's what they need to do is make them fun. Don't make them
fun
quite so
again.
heavy. Yeah.
I had a discussion the other day just about that's the key is they're fun. I think is it. You look at the amount of fans there are these days, and the average age of a Bond fan seems to be getting older and older, and we're not bringing in new people. There's no GoldenEye video game equivalents anymore. Like that's what brought me in. And that was fun. It was adventure. It was fun. We need to go back to having some fun with it to bring in new generations for this franchise to continue for another 50, 60 years.
Yeah. Good point. Okay. Scott, your number 3 was We Have All the Time in the World. Neil,
Correct.
Your number 3 was We Have All the Time in the World. My number 3 was Nobody Does It Better, Carly Simon. Scott, your number 2 was Nobody Does It Better by Carly Simon. So Neil, what's your number 2?
Now I put this high up. People, this sort of divides people. This song is "You Know My Name," Chris Cornell. Now I'm a big Soundgarden fan. Still am a big Chris Cornell fan, and a tragic loss there. It just seemed a bit different. Just seemed a bit more rockier. Sort of appealed to my sort of demographic of music a little bit more, this one, and that's why I put it quite high. I like it. It's on my infamous playlist. It's this and another one are the only ones that are on my infamous playlist. So I had to put it high because I listen to it when it ever comes around on that infamous playlist. So great song.
This might be shocking, positively shocking, but it's my number 1.
Oh, right.
Oh, is it?
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
I love Soundgarden, Temple of the Dog, Audio Slave.
Yeah.
Chris Cornell is a man that transcends genre. I'm so glad I got to see him in concert before he passed away. I've spoken to David Arnold about Chris and his work with that. Like it's one of my, it isn't my number one song, and it's a reinvention of Bond, much like Casino Royale was, and it's as rocky as Live and Let Die, which I love. I love the rockier themes. Not rocky theme, rockier themes.
Yeah.
I do love the Rocky theme too. But yeah, I absolutely adore this song.
And Chris Cornell, I mean, if you ever have a little delve into him and his music, Pav, I know it wouldn't probably be your sort of thing, but his voice, fuck me, that boy could sing.
Listen to his cover of Nothing Compares to You on YouTube. Oh my Lord.
Okay.
It blows you away.
I have to admit, this isn't in my top 10 because I just thinking about it, I couldn't remember how it went.
Right.
So it kind of wasn't memorable to me. I mean,
You didn't know his name.
Well done, Scott. Well done. There you go. Hey! Ready this?
Hey! Thank you very much, everyone.
I mean, but he's got a great voice. It's not for me as memorable a Bond song as others, but I say that, and it's Scott's number one. So but that's just the way the cookie crumbles, as they say. My number two. So that was your number two, Neil.
Yeah.
My number two was Skyfall by Adele. So before we announce our number ones, although obviously Scott has already let us know, if you can give us a countdown from 10 to 2, Scott. Neil will do the same, and then I'll do the same.
Sure thing. So number 10, we have Tina Turner with Goldeneye. Number 9, we have Gladys Knight with License to Kill. Number 8, Shirley Bassey with Goldfinger. Number 7, Aha with The Living Daylights. Number 6, Paul McCartney, Live and Let Die. Number 5, Shirley Bassey, Diamonds Are Forever. Adele at number 4 with Skyfall. Number 3, we have All the Time in the World. Number 2, Carly Simon with Nobody Does It Better.
Wonderful. Neil?
So at number 10, I had You Only Live Twice, Nancy Sinatra. Number 9, For Your Eyes Only, Sheena Easton. Number 8, A View to a Kill, Duran Duran. Number 7, Goldfinger, Shirley Bassey. Number 6, Nobody Does It Better, Carly Simon. Number 5, The World Is Not Enough, Garbage. Number 4, Goldeneye, Tina Turner. Number 3, We Have All the Time in the World, Louis Armstrong. And number 2, You Know My Name, Chris Cornell.
Thank you. Mine is number 10, A View to a Kill, Duran Duran. 9, Goldfinger, Shirley Bassey. 8, We Have All the Time in the World, Louis Armstrong. 7, Goldeneye, Tina Turner. 6, The Living Daylights, Aha. 5, License to Kill, Gladys Knight. 4, No Time to Die, Billie Eilish. 3, Nobody Does It Better, Carly Simon. And 2, Skyfall by Adele. So, Scott, you've given us our number one, or your number one, which is You Know My Name. So, Neil, what is your number one Bond song?
I don't think this will come any surprise to you, Pav. It's Live and Let Die.
And it's mine as well. It's mine as well. It's just a classic tune, let alone just a classic Bond tune.
It works as a song separate away from, the Bond theme. We spoke about other ones that do it, but this one really does it for me. It can be a Bond song and enjoy it thoroughly as a Bond song. It can be just a normal tune you hear. I even quite like the Guns N' Roses version. I mean, it's not a patch on the original, but I do quite like it. So, yes.
I love it that it's one of those classic McCartney ones where it's like 3 or 4 songs melded into one. You know, it's just like you've got the slow bit, you've got so it's almost, it shows you what the movie is all in one. You've got a nice slow start, then you've got like an action set piece, then you've got it dies down a little bit more. I love all that, and this is. I mean, it was my number one Bond movie.
Was it really? Because I remember that being mine as well.
Yeah, because it's just it's my era, and it was like exactly what we were saying earlier on about Daniel Craig movies. It's a fun movie. It's ridiculous in places. It just totally is ridiculous, but
pure action.
But pure action and pure fun, and Roger Moore always has that little wink in his eye, even though
it did.
And
it frightened me when I first watched this.
It
really did. All the voodoo stuff frightened me when I was younger. It really did. And it has Jane Seymour as well.
Oh yeah, you can't go wrong with Jane Seymour, can you?
You cannot. And it's the only Bond song to have the gumption to have a reggae section.
Indeed.
There you go. Yeah.
What more do you need? It's got absolutely everything you need in a theme tune. So,
and when Paul McCartney plays it live now, it's a spectacular thing, isn't it? It's when all the fireworks go off, and it's just a massive showpiece now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, before we do our honourable mentions, Scott, you did mention that you had an honourable mention. So what one's that?
Well, I'm a big believer in there being 27 James Bond films and not 25. There are people who have different interpretations. That's fine, but I say there are 27 Bond films, and there is one film that has a song that was nominated for an Academy Award, didn't win one, which is 1967's Casino Royale, with "The Look of Love" from Dusty Springfield, and that is a Bond song that people do not recognize, but it was made for the film, and it's a cracking track.
I didn't realise that was part of that.
Yeah, I've only ever seen that film once, that version of Casino Royale. Is it worth going back to? I mean, it's a long time ago. Is it worth revisiting?
No. No.
Right, okay.
Sorry.
That was a very considered answer there.
Because when I went back and watched Never Say Never Again, it had moments, it was all right. But wow, weren't we ever distracted by Sean Connery's hairpiece in that film?
His hair looks better in that than it does in Diamonds Are Forever, I'll put it that way.
Okay, I'll have to watch Diamonds. Yeah, but that one...
I've always said with Never Say Never Again, if you put a John Barry score and a gun barrel on it, a proper gun barrel, you've got yourself a sort of, mid to late, something in your, not people's top 10s, but top 20 maybe of Bond films. Because it's a great story. It's Thunderball, just regurgitated. And you've got Barbara Carrera running around as Fatima Blush, being a maniacal henchman that we all love to watch.
That's right. And you also got Pat Roach.
You do.
Oh, the
late great.
Pat Roach.
Yeah.
Getting a piss thrown in his eye.
That's right, and all the glass over him. Yeah.
So the Casino Royale, who was in that? That was
David Niven.
David Niven. Wasn't Woody Allen in that?
Woody Allen's in it. Peter Sellers is in it.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a cavalcade of casting.
Right.
That's a
there you
twister.
go. Very good.
But it's a mess, an absolute mess. A fun film to learn about and read about more than watch, because it's like knowing the rights issues and how they managed to make a Bond film outside of the Eon productions. All that sort of stuff is fun to read about. More fun than the film. The film itself will give you a migraine.
Really?
Right.
Yeah, I remember seeing clips, but I've never seen it all the way through. But
always used to put it on. I remember sort of Christmas or Easter time, and you think, "Oh, Bond film," and then you start to watch it. And I watched it once, and then remember thinking, "Oh, Bond." No, let's not worry.
Well, it's got 6 directors. Put it that way.
Oh my god!
Yeah, there we go.
So, would you say? This is for both of you. Are there any artists out there that you think would have been great, or is great, to do a Bond theme that has never done one?
Elvis, genuinely. Elvis would have sung a great. I'm not saying he would have done it, but his voice would have suited a great Bond theme.
I'll tell you, I would love to have heard a Prince Bond theme.
I was just thinking Prince.
Yeah,
I was just as you said it. Yeah,
yeah. I just think he would have because he's very good at he's just very good at everything, as we've mentioned on various podcasts. I just think that would have been really interesting.
Aqua, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
You're
I'm a Bond girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Calling Dr. Bond.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Scott, you got any others?
See, I went with Prince in my head. I was trying to think of something more recent, but I'm not really attuned to pop music nowadays. It's kind of hard to know who the current
I feel
people
the same.
are.
Yeah, it'd probably be someone like Post Malone or someone like that.
I'd imagine Taylor Swiftie would do one, wouldn't she?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether she'd have the edge to do something like that.
She could do a country and western one.
She could.
If Bond's going, if Bond, per my pitch earlier, Bond goes back to the 1960s, we need someone that's got like a classic voice to them. Who's someone who's still going, who's maybe not the popular person, but is still going now? I mean, could Shirley Bassey come back and do one more?
I would say.
I mean,
Tom Jones, possibly.
Yeah, if they ended up doing a going back to the 60s, can you imagine if they did a Shirley Bassey Tom Jones duet for the Bond theme? I mean, that would be amazing.
You'd have to turn it right down though when they were both singing, wouldn't you?
You would have to, yeah.
That final note would just hang on forever.
Yeah, forever.
As the movie goes on for 2.5 hours, that note is just going on in the bottom of the soundtrack. Okay, we got some honorable mentions. Carol Barwick said, "I absolutely love singing The Spy Who Loved Me. Nobody does it better." Carly Simon. Vicky Paulson said, "A View to a Kill" by Duran Duran. Nancy Bush says, Duran Duran, of course, and aha. Lisa Buchanan said what Nancy said. Oh, and Chris Cornell, You Know My Name. The song itself is okay, but the delivery is everything. Paul McCartney, Live and Let Die, feels necessary to mention. Gives you the vintage Bond feels. Billie Eilish, No Time to Die, so amazingly soulful. And Carly Simon, Nobody Does It Better, because, well, Carly Simon. This would have been difficult for me to come up with my top 10, but honorable mentions. Now, she says Sheila E., but I'm assuming she means Sheena Easton.
She must do Sheena Easton.
And Adele. Danny Harris says Chris Cornell. I had to pull him up on this. He said Chris Cornell, Can't Change Me was the song from his solo record, but I believe it's the theme for Tomorrow Never Dies or something from the Brosnan era. And I actually said, no, actually he did Casino Royale. And he apologized, and then he said, on that note, I really always liked The World Is Not Enough, which was done by Garbage. Dawn Sardella Ayers said Nancy Bush, this is the answer as always. Sir Paul for number 3, he'd be higher, but I can't take the grammatical errors. Brandon Watson, it's got to be Diamonds Are Forever, but I'm a sucker for anything by Dame Shirley Bassey. Rachel Davis, okay, how is no one talking about Adele and Skyfall? I'm not a big Adele fan, but I have to admit that's a great song. Karen Carpenter, Nobody Does It Better. Carly Simon, Thunderball, love the power Sir Tom uses. I closed my eyes and I held the note for so long. When I opened my eyes, the room was spinning, said Tom Jones. Dave Davis, Live and Let Die. At Jenks Oliver says, if Carly Simon isn't first, we riot. Kareem Pastor said The Living Daylights. And Nikki Dennis, The World Is Not Enough by Garbage.
There you are.
There you go. Done and done. Top 10 Bond songs in the bag. So what's coming up for you and your podcast then, Scott? What other top guests have you got lined up?
Well, that really depends on when this episode's coming out, because I might have a big news spoiler for you.
Oh, this will be coming out in about 3 or 4 weeks, I think. So about just mid December.
Well, that's perfect then, because
I haven't got a drum roll. If only I had a drum roll on my.
It's someone. Joining us on SpyHards in the beginning of December is a Bond director extraordinaire. We've already had John Glenn on the show. We're adding to our director line. We've got Mr. Lee Tamahori coming on to talk to us about Die Another Day.
Wow.
He's coming to the defense of his film from 2002, often lambasted, but he's got an hour and a half with us, and it's fascinating to hear about what went into that film.
Right.
Great.
That'll be a definite one to listen. I want to find out all about the invisible car and what was that malarkey was.
There's a lot about that, and the CG. The tsunami is a big topic of conversation. Right. That CG tsunami.
That's going to be fascinating.
I bet it is. Not to give anything away, but I mean, does he sort of laugh about it, or is he apologetic about the CG, or
a bit of both?
Oh, really?
He acknowledges his limitations. Let's put it that way. But he's not afraid of poking fun at himself.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. We will put the links to the podcast in the show notes. So all you need to do is click on that, go and subscribe, and then you won't miss the episode. And obviously, that episode will already be out, but you won't miss any other episodes that are coming as well. Before we say our goodbyes, Neil, do you want to tell everybody how they can get in touch and all that gubbins?
Of course I will. So come and help support the podcast at patreon.com/top10pods. All sorts of rewards for you where you can be a guest yourself. Email us at top10pods@hotmail.com with any questions and any suggestions for a top 10, please. And you can find us on all the social medias at top10pods. Give us a click, give us a like, give us a follow, give us whatever it is you want to do. Check out all of the links via the link tree. You can find the link in the show notes. And please do come subscribe and leave a rating and review wherever you get your podcast from.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Scott. It's been an absolute pleasure. Please pass on our best wishes to Cam. And then next time you come on, if you want to come on, obviously next time, we'll get you both in and we'll find it. I mean, I think we've done Bond now. There's not much we can do else with Bond. I suppose top 10 Bond moments, but you might want to do something a bit different.
Bond ladies or whatever you want to say.
I mean, there's another great top 10 you haven't done, I don't think, and that's top 10 spy movies, because that's
absolutely right.
We do. We don't just talk Bond, we talk spy movies.
I think that would be a great one to do. That would be an
number
absolutely...
one, Spy Hard with Leslie
Phillips. No, I don't think it's Leslie Phillips, Neil. I don't think it is.
Oh, I say.
Yes. But that's it. So thank you very much for joining us, Scott. It's been loads of fun.
Thank you.
And congratulations on winning the quiz as well. Neil, hang your head in shame.
I always do every week.
You do every single week. So thank you, Neil. Thank you, Scott. Thank you for everybody for watching and listening. And let's go start the countdown.
10,